49ers. Faithful. The vibe in the Bay feels different today. There's real relief on offense, a big yellow light flashing on defense, movement behind the scenes, and a surprise that could change the direction of this season. Key players are ruled out. New guys are stepping into major roles, and an entire unit is getting stress tested in the middle of the storm. And all this is happening right before a game that can reset how the red and gold are viewed. Get comfortable, hit that like button, and let's jump straight into it. When you really look at this matchup against the Browns, it's easy to see why the fan base feels that mix of confidence and fear. The offense is finally close to full strength. Kyle Shanahan has enough weapons to draw up whatever version of the West Coast offense he wants, but on the other side of the ball, the warning signs are blinking. 3 important names are out, and that changes the look and the margin for error of this defense and special teams group. First, Tatum Bethune. Everyone knew he probably wouldn't be ready with that high ankle sprain, one of those nasty injuries that lingers and wrecks a linebacker's rhythm. The bye week after this game helps, gives him a window to recover, but nobody in Santa Clara wants to rush him back and lose him for even longer. While Bethune works his way back, a veteran with real credentials walks into the building hungry. Eric Kendricks steps right into that opening. If Kendricks plays well, do you just hand the job back to Bethune when he's healthy? Or does this staff lean into experience with the season on the line? On special teams, the issue is different. Eddie Pinheiro, who had already been dealing with a hamstring problem, is now officially out. Hamstrings are sneaky. Push too hard, too soon, and the setback can be worse. So the plan now runs through Matt Gay, a name a lot of people frowned at when the signing was announced, especially with him coming off a down year. Against the Panthers, he was solid, did his job, no drama. But kicking at Levi's Stadium on a calm night is one thing. Going into Cleveland with bad weather, swirling wind and cold is a completely different challenge. In a tight game, one missed field goal can flip the narrative and crush momentum. To make things worse, Sam Okwainonu, one of the few pass rushers who had been producing consistently since Nick Bosu went down, is out with a high ankle sprain too. He's not a star, but he's that blue-collar piece who stacks pressures, quietly wins on the edge, and keeps Bryce Huff from having to carry everything alone. Pull a guy like that out of a rotation that was already thin, and everyone else has to play with even more weight on their shoulders. Can you really ride out December with just the guys you've got? Or is this the moment when the front office has to move aggressively in the market? If there's one position group you can't treat casually this time of year, it's the defensive line and the pass rush. Now take a deep breath, faithful, because if the injury news already had everyone on edge, what comes next ties directly into the short-term future of this defense. While people wonder how the Niners will survive without Bethune, Pinheiro, and Okwainonu, another conversation is getting louder: the search for reinforcements. And when you look at the open market, one name jumps out as the kind of late opportunity that might be arriving at the right time: Yannick Ngakoue. Fans are split on him, no doubt. But once you put him next to the actual context of this defense, the math gets simple. The 49ers sit at the bottom of the league in sacks, stuck at 13. 13. That number does not match a team that built its reputation on suffocating quarterbacks and dictating games with its pass rush. Losing Nick Bosu and Michael Williams to ACL tears didn't just hurt. It flipped the entire structure of this unit. This scheme doesn't need a guy for down the line. It needs someone who can produce now. Ngakoue isn't the same player who put up nearly 10 sacks with the Colts in 2022. He's not that clear-cut number one edge who takes over a game by himself. But he's still a highly experienced veteran with enough juice in his first step to create real discomfort. And when you compare him to what you've got at the end of the rotation, like Robert Beal Jr., who has upside but is still inconsistent, the logic jumps off the page. Ngakoue would be an immediate upgrade. He also fits the kind of player Robert Saleh knows how to use. Ngakoue doesn't need to be the centerpiece. He just has to be part of the wave. That's how this front is built. Bryce Huff brings explosive pressure from one side, someone complimentary comes off the opposite edge to close the pocket, and the rotation keeps rolling so the energy stays high on every snap. Ngakoue could be that third down specialist, the guy who collapses the pocket just enough to turn a neutral play into a drive-killing loss. There will always be people who look at a move like that and say, he doesn't move the needle. But how many times have we seen players that other teams gave up on unlock a new level when they land in an aggressive, disciplined defense with a clear identity? And this still isn't the most surprising part of the story. The next piece completely shifts how we look at Sunday and exposes how high this group's ceiling really is. While a lot of the talk stays focused on who's out or who might be coming in, there's a detail flying under the radar, and it might be exactly what tilts this game against the Browns. Even with all the injuries, this 49ers defensive line has started to show something we hadn't seen in weeks: identity. An identity built the hard way, through physical toll, adjustments, and raw technique. It showed up in a big way on Monday night against the Panthers. That wasn't just a win. That was a message. The defense suffocated Bryce Young. The pocket went from comfortable to hostile, unpredictable, and flat-out miserable. It wasn't about one superstar taking over. It was about a group playing like it had something to prove. Waves of rushers, explosion off the snap, leverage, violent hands. That old-school red and gold DNA. When that machine starts rolling, any rookie quarterback, especially one still learning to process quickly, like Shedeur Sanders, feels it instantly. Bryce Huff has turned into the metronome of this defense over the last 3 weeks. 11 pressures. With no Bosa on the other side, protections have been sliding his way. But he's still winning. The get-off is elite. The way he runs the arc is clean. The flexibility is ridiculous. All it takes is one misstep in his direction, one tackle opening his hips a little too much, and the pocket cracks. Rookie quarterbacks handle that lateral collapse poorly. They speed up their progression, rush their reads, abandon clean mechanics. That's when the mistakes start. Even without playing this Sunday, Sam Okwainonu is still part of this story. His recent breakout helped fuel the confidence this front is playing with. A guy who was never supposed to be a headliner suddenly carved out a crucial role when the team needed him most. His strength, wingspan, and improved feel for counters gave this front real stability and proved that with solid technique and discipline, you can win reps even if you're not the marquee name. But the one who can really tilt the field in Cleveland is rookie defensive tackle Alfred Collins. The impact he's making is real. He can line up inside, slide outside, shut down gaps, disrupt reads, and make life miserable for quarterbacks who depend on rhythm. Collins shrinks space, forces hesitation, and wrecks timing. For a young passer like Sanders, who needs that clean, rhythmic operation to stay comfortable, a player like Collins is a nightmare. If this defense can replicate that Panthers formula, waves of rushers, disciplined aggression, and relentless pressure, the script of this game might flip before halftime. The one room where the drama has really hit hard is the linebackers. It feels like something goes wrong there every week. First came the emotional gut punch, losing Fred Warner for the rest of the season with that ankle injury. You're not just talking about an all-pro. You're talking about the quarterback of your defense, the voice that lines everyone up, the guy who gets people into the right calls before the snap. When he goes down, it isn't just about losing talent. It's a huge emotional hole in the locker room. Then you have D. Winters and Tatum Bethune going in and out of the lineup, snap counts being managed, patchwork rotations. That's why it makes sense to see the front office bring in Eric Kendricks to the practice squad right before this matchup with a desperate Browns team, trying to salvage pride in a rough season. At first glance, the move looks low-key, but when you zoom in, it might be the swing factor. Kendricks is not just some random name floating on the market. He's stacked years of high-level production, brings big-game experience, leadership in the locker room, and a level of pre-snap IQ you can't teach in a meeting. Shanahan himself pointed out that Kendricks almost came to San Francisco before, only to choose Dallas instead, a decision that pushed the Niners toward the Devondre Campbell plan. And we all know how that ended. Now the universe hands them a second chance. With Bethune officially ruled out for the Browns game and Curtis Robinson having held things together against the Panthers, the question writes itself. Can you really leave Kendricks on the sideline? That injury report practically shoves the staff toward giving him real snaps right away in Cleveland. And if he steps in and plays anywhere close to his peak level, the conversation will change quickly. Fans are already picturing that veteran presence stabilizing the middle of the defense while the front goes hunting for Shedeur Sanders. In the end, This might be that classic move that never makes the headline graphic, but quietly defines the tone of the stretch run. Either Kendricks becomes just another body in the rotation, or he turns into the new silent pillar of this red and gold defense. So that's where we are, 49ers faithful. On one side, brutal losses with Bethune, Pinheiro, and Okwuegbunam out. On the other, a real chance to respond with a re-energized pass rush, the possibility of a veteran addition like Ngakoue, the rise of Alfred Collins, and the experience of Eric Kendricks stepping into the picture. Is this group going to crumble under the pressure, or finally turn that pressure into a real identity in Cleveland? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you expect from this game. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with that Niner gang friend who suffers every week but never stops believing.